3 Florida correction officers were charged with murdering a 60-year-old inmate. Now, from left to right, here are the photos of these gentlemen from the Dade Correctional Institution. Officers Kirk Walton, Christopher Rolon, and Ronald Connor. They're being held with no bond right now. And it's expected that a 4th officer will also be charged in the death of this man. Now, right now, these 3 gentlemen are charged with 2nd-degree murder, conspiracy, aggravated battery of an elderly adult, and cruel treatment of the 6-year-old inmate, whose picture here, if you all could put that up. That's Ronald Gene Ingram. Now, he was beaten so badly that he suffered a punctured lung and internal bleeding. And in a press release from Florida Department of Law Enforcement, well, that gives us kind of the first look into what really happened here. And what we do know is this, that early in the morning on February 14th, Ingram was to be transferred from Dade Correctional to Lake Correctional, which is northwest of Orlando. But before he was removed from his cell, he reportedly threw urine on one of the officers. After the inmate was removed, even though he was in handcuffs and compliant with the officer's commands, agents say the officers began to beat him. The beating happened in an area the officers knew was not covered by surveillance camera. And that's what sources told the Miami Herald. And the footage did reveal just how badly Ingram was injured, because he reportedly had to be carried to the transport van. Now, Ingram, who had been serving a life sentence for murder, was found dead hours later inside the van when it stopped hundreds of miles away at the Florida's Women's Reception Center in Ocala. I may have butchered that. But what we do know is that the Miami Herald notes that there are criminal charges against the officers for the attacks on inmates. And with these criminal charges, we know that this is extremely rare. That cases of officers being charged with murdering inmates, those are even rarer here. Dade Correctional has been one of the state's most problematic prisons. The Herald published an expose on the facility's transitional care unit that houses mentally ill inmates, where inmates have complained about officers refusing to give them food or putting laxative and urine in their meals. Now, Ingram was housed there just before his death. This is unnecessary, this is cruel, and this is wrong. These individuals ganged up on this 60-year-old man and beat him to death. I understand that the man threw urine on them, which is completely unacceptable as it is, but also that's kind of the job. You are a corrections officer. You're going to be in an environment with individuals who are in prison in large part because of behavioral issues, if we can call them that. And so the fact that he threw urine on them, yeah, it's extremely offensive and it's upsetting, but is it enough to beat him to death and to gang up? And also, I think it's no mystery that the beating of this man was done outside of the view of cameras. This definitely sounds like it was something very strategic, borderline planned, but definitely very brutal. Kyla.
It also sounds like they know that spot. They've done it before. It sounds like a pattern that inmates at that prison facility have done before. And so it just speaks to, again, the larger environment and how they allow for activity like this. They allow for the security guards and the officers to mistreat and abuse the inmates, and they allow the inmates to abuse themselves. The entire environment within prison facilities like those, they seek to dehumanize people. They seek to allow this type of treatment towards people who have committed crimes, who have maybe mental issues that haven't had the help or the resources to help them to deal with those things. And so it's completely disgusting. It's really sad that man had to lose his life. Despite what he's done, he still didn't deserve that. And so again, the whole system needs to be thrown away. Clearly those cops did not need to be in that position of power or authority. Yeah.
No, I completely and totally agree. And I think there's no excuse for the behavior. One thing I also will make the observation of is, again, how rare it is for these correctional officers to actually be charged with anything, and especially to be charged with murder. And that's something we should bear in mind, because it's not that this doesn't happen in the correction system, is that charges are very rare. But we also want to bear in mind that the officers who are accused of committing this act are all officers of color, and the individual that they killed is white. And so one thing we definitely know from research in court cases is that it's far more likely for an individual to be charged with higher penalties and punishments if they are a Black offender or a brown accused offender and the victim was white. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that played some role in the decision for prosecutors to stray from the general protocol of not charging officers, or at least not charging them with murder, and actually doing it here. What do you think, Kyla?
No, absolutely, and absolutely how to roll on it. Again, these officers being charged with murder, no less, like very rare to see. And I'm not surprised that all three of those officers were charged in part because they are Black.
Yeah, like this is what the system is. And even though it shouldn't matter, and what they're accused of doing is completely wrong and unjustifiable, the reality is some people get passes and the rest of us get handcuffs. And this is just what we know. So let's not act like it's not real.